Hey everyone, so what if I told you that you could eat a packet of gummy bears or gummy worms or Sour Patch Kids and a gallon of Coca-Cola every day for breakfast and lunch and sometimes dinner, depending on who you're listening to, and lose weight? What would you say if someone said that? I hope what you'd say is like, what are you smoking? Like um, that just doesn't sound right. But if you were a little bit of a deep thinker, you'd say something else. You'd say like, okay, that may be true, but so what? Like, is losing weight really what we're after here? And I think that's really what I want to talk about in this live. So just to quickly sum up for those of you who aren't in the same world that I am and don't have the same social media feeds that I do, Cole Robinson, who has a habit of announcing some weird new diet every couple of years. Um, a few months ago, he got on what he was calling the sugar diet or the sugar fasting trend. I made another video about it. I won't get into it in detail, but he's basically saying you eat nothing but white sugar, and he said this literally in some of his videos, despite what he's saying in his more recent videos from today and yesterday, where he's disavowed this whole thing. But what he was saying was you eat white sugar, meaning table sugar, maybe some fruit juice, soda like Coca Cola, Pepsi, that kind of soda. That's what we're talking about. He calls it pop in his world. Fine, cool. And you lose weight, which in some cases, and it's like any trend. It took off, and some people actually did lose weight, and some people didn't. And some of the people who lost weight, they experienced weird symptoms. I never heard of someone complaining of pain in their liver before. That's a new one. I didn't even know the liver had nerve endings that it could feel pain. But apparently, if you go on this diet, you might feel pain in your liver. So weird stuff going on. I honestly don't know why anyone is trying this for a number of reasons. Number of reasons. Number one, the person. Like, why are we listening to what this dude has to say? Like, it doesn't make any sense at all. This is someone who was on keto, then carnivore, then high, then low fat, then I don't know what he's doing, right? So he changes his dietary ideology, and one gets the feeling, one suspects, one can never prove this kind of stuff. One suspects that he is changing his ideology to follow the clicks. When his keto content stops getting the likes, he goes to carnivore. When his carnivore content stops getting the clicks, he goes to vegan. When his content stops getting the clicks, he goes to whatever, this sugar diet or whatever it is. So, A, why are we following this particular person? That just seems insane. The fact that he's walked it all back in the last 48 hours and called his subscribers morons, effing morons. There's a lot of swearing on that video, so I won't actually put it up. I don't want to have the F word every second word on my channel. It doesn't make much sense. But anyway, so A, why are we listening to this guy? B, let's say for the sake of argument, I came up with a diet that would keep you full. Let's call it the cardboard diet for the sake of argument. This diet keeps you full, but it is guaranteed that you will lose weight because you can't digest cardboard, right? Does that mean that that diet is a good idea? If we know that sugar is a toxin, if we know that sugar is 50% fructose, which is an extremely efficient way to produce fatty liver disease, which is an extremely efficient way to produce all kinds of other things, which by the way is also deficient in minerals, right? So it's not going to give your body the nutrients it needs to actually function. So if you can lose weight just eating pure sugar, does that mean that you should? I mean that it's a wise idea. Now I've heard from lots of people saying they were stalled and they were trying to, this was the thing that they were trying to sort of push them over the line. I hear you. I hear your frustration. I know. I know. I mean, I've been there. I've been in the I got to lose the last 5 pounds or 5 kilos space and so on. Like your frustrations are real. I don't mean to downplay them. However, there are safe ways and there are not safe ways to do this, right? And the fact that you are gravitating towards a way that I think any like 8 year old who would love to do the sugar diet. I mean, me as an 8 year old, I would have loved to do the sugar diet, man. I was addicted to things like hotcakes and ice creams and yeah, gummy bears and all that kind of stuff. Like this would have been my dream diet, right? But even then, I think 8 year old me would have known, okay, this is a stupid idea. Like maybe the first day I'll like it, and the first day I'll also bounce off the walls, and then I'll crash super hard. And this is not hypothetical. Like this is actually like I have been in places where people have been feeding their kids Coca-Cola for breakfast, and I see what happens. Like it's not hidden. I know what happens when you feed your kid nothing but Coke for breakfast. What happens is that kid gets a sugar high and then he gets a sugar crash, and it is a complete disaster. 100% a disaster, right? So this sugar fasting thing, is very weird. Now, what's going on in our culture is a couple things. Like if I'm sort of being a bit meta, if I take a step back and say why is anyone actually considering this? Number one is I think we have to admit that we are living in a very shallow culture. I mean, I hate to say it, but that's sort of my impression here. Like if you are feeling good and you're looking good to you and you're not sort of obese, but you have a 5 or 6 pounds that you think you should lose, should quote unquote, are you going to try something as stupid as this? Like, is that really where we're at? Is that really what's going on? So I think I don't want to call it vanity, but that's kind of what it is. It's like, guys, let's prioritize the health first, and the looks follow. Like when you feel good, when you're feeling, I hate to use these kind of tired old cliches, but when you feel beautiful, when you're going to look beautiful too, and people are going to be attracted to you, and people will, if you're in the market for a girlfriend or a boyfriend, they'll probably come along, and if you're not, then people will find you attractive anyway, and will come up to you and tell you that they find you attractive, etc. Right? So what I'm trying to say is, this is all cliche stuff, right? But beauty does come from within, especially when we're talking about food and food quality. We got to make sure that you're hitting the nutrient targets first. We got to make sure that you're not poisoning yourself first, right? Number one. So number one, what's going on, I think, is some level of vanity. Number two, I guess, is some level of desperation. Why the desperation? Illusion is asking if he or she can ask some questions. Please go ahead, ask some questions. I'll do my best to address them in the talk. So number two, so we have the issue of vanity, and it's not your fault, but vanity is just part of our culture, I guess. And then there's this issue of desperation. Like I've tried everything, and here we have to get into the fact that it's actually more difficult if you've tried everything than if you've tried nothing. What do I mean by that? I mean the body has a certain set weight based on inputs and outputs, based on what you're doing to it. This isn't calories in, calories out nonsense. This is what is the environmental condition. What are the insulin spiking foods that you're eating? Are you taking walks? Are you doing ancestrally appropriate movements, etc., etc.? Right. So based on that, you have a set point. And if you try and cheat the set point, if you try and say, no, I'm not going to change my environment, I'm not going to change what I'm doing, I'm not going to change my diet, but I want to lose 20 pounds. And you can do that. There are lots of ways to do that. You can use GLP-1 agonists. You can use liposuction. Like there's many options to quote unquote cheat. I don't really like the word cheating, but let's use it for now. You can cheat the system and you can lose the 20 pounds, but the body is going to want you back at that set point. And people who've done liposuction have seen this again and again and again. You can get the fat out of your body. Literally, the fat cells are taken out of your body, but your body comes back to the set weight. It produces more fat cells or whatever happens. It enlarges the fat cells that already exist. And you're back at the set weight sooner or later, right? So you get desperate. And the more you do this yo-yo diet, or you can do yo-yo dieting, you can do a crash caloric deficit kind of diet, like we see on The Biggest Loser TV program from 20 years ago. Those folks were 300 pounds, 150 kilos. They got down to a normal weight, but almost all of them regained the weight and more. Because again, the body has set points. It has a set weight that it wants to be. It doesn't want to go below that. So what the secret is, we have to actually learn how to manipulate our metabolism. We have to learn how to give our body the energy it needs, which is much less than what we're currently giving it, and the nutrients it needs, which is actually much more than we're currently giving it. So we need to prioritize those nutrient-dense foods, those shellfish, liver, meat, eggs, maybe dairy if you can tolerate it. We need to prioritize all those foods, and then, of course, eat them in smaller quantities or eat them within a fasting window or whatever it may be, so that we can reset the body's set point to something that we find is more reasonable. When by reasonable, I mean in line with our sort of ancestrally appropriate weights. So these are just some thoughts. Why people are getting desperate. I think it's again to do with the vanity. Like we're living in a society that really puts a premium on looking a certain way, I guess. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. Still waiting for any. There's some stuff in the chat, but not really any questions yet. So thanks, and I will see you in the next one.